Welcome to Confessions of Inappropriate Yoga Teachers.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Mona.
And in this podcast, we boldly explore the universe through conversations about yoga in a down-to-earth way.
Hoping to bring the light back into enlightenment.
The care in scare-y.
And the fun back in dysfunction.
We do have a disclaimer. Our version of down-to-earth likely includes swearing. So if you're offended by this, then you might decide to bail on this podcast right now.
That said, no platypi were harmed in the filming, the production, the writing, the conception, or any part of the creation or unfolding of this podcast.
Yay, us!
So there's so many ways, and I find that, when you go into astrology for self-healing, that sometimes people get turned off because people like us that like the science, we start going into the astronomy, we start going into too deep of the understanding of how it all works, that we lose the person looking for medicine. So I would like to, journey into how can this help an individual person that has no idea what the hell we're talking about,
Lovely.
And really
Yes.
kind of go, okay, how, like, sidereal, tropical, I don't care. I have a problem and I need help and I have pain and I need medicine. So that's how I focus it, because, when you're raised with, a great grandmother that everybody in her neighborhood, in her farm, would come to as a problem solver, and then you see that she would make a herb or a tincture, or she would do something and then help, and then she'd bring her team. My great uncle used to heal people with water. In fact, my mother, who had a kidney, almost died of kidney disease at a very young age, he healed her by putting her in buckets of water. And so carloads of people would come from Brazil and different parts of South America to this old man who would heal people with water. So I have a lineage, stemming from healers and medicine people that use the water and earth, the herbs. And I find that, when I honor that, when I stick to that theme, which is very similar. When you know elements, it doesn't matter what part of the world you practice, whether it's Wicca or Chinese medicine or Ayurveda, or even Greek, all the different paths, and even the Persians, they have the Zoroastrians, they have their own elemental wisdom. That once you have that understanding, that it can really support they can support each other. So I found that my background helped to support my interest in the Vedas, because it all fit. But it's really important, I find, that that you find your flavor. So this is my flavor of trying to help. Okay, so all the other very successful astrologers that have that academic, scientific mind, I consider you my teachers, and I humble myself in front of you. So this is just my way, from my lineage, from my teacher, and how they told me my gifts are to help. And one of the things that, is strong in my lineage, because of the women were all storytellers in some way. And I love the stories that help us reflect our journey of consciousness in this life. And it starts with, right behind Mona, she has this beautiful Sanskrit word called ojas on her wall, right? And a beautiful heart. And we always have to look at omenology, right? The omens around us. So I look it down and I see this heart and I see this ojas word. And that's the whole idea of this next coming 18 months of this transit of Rahu Ketu. Because we are trying to find the elixir of life, the elixir of immortality. And so the period that this aspect of Rahu and Ketu are in is that they are in their exaltation. That means that they are in signs that bring out the best parts of themselves. So when we look at this Rahu Ketu, we have to understand the story. Because if we don't understand the story, it doesn't make sense. Because astronomically, okay, Western astrology always works with the south and the north node of the moon. But the story is not there. But the concept is there. And the astronomy is there, but not the legend. And legends and stories help, the metaphors help us understand the journey of our human consciousness, right? So as lovers of Ayurveda and yoga, and some yoga studios teach the churning of the ocean story. And I always recommend it. It's like my favorite story, right? It's like everything is from that story. So it's the churning, C-H-U-R-N-I-N-G, churning of the ocean. We mentioned it before, and I'm sure I'm a repetitive person, but you've got to go back to the roots. So with this story is the birth of many Vedic sciences, such as Ayurveda, yoga, and Jyotisha. So it starts with this idea of a metaphor that we are 75% water, all human beings are 75. We are aquatic beings. And what is water? It's emotions, it's sexuality, it's creativity, it's emotionality. That means that we are a reactive, sexual, sensual, as my guru would say, sexy puppies. We are sexy puppies, always looking to be petted, fed, taken for a walk, and mating. We're looking for our mate, right? And if we're not eating, sleeping, mating, defending, we're upset. We're upset. We're upset. We're upset with, how food was taken from us and not given to us. We're upset with love. We're upset people. And why? Why are we upset? It's because we have a desire that needs to be fulfilled. And that's what Rahu represents. It's a desire that is so deep embedded in our cellular memory that we don't even know sometimes what our desires are. And that's why we try this and we try that, and we go here, we get initiated there, we get baptized there, we try this country, that culture. Now I've got a Sanskrit name, now I got a Hindu name, oh, now I have a First Nations name, right? We try all kinds of things because what are we doing? We're trying to satisfy this deep hunger, which is what Rahu represents. He has deep Rahu, has this deep hunger. Rahu and Ketu are a serpent. And this serpent represents that part of our consciousness that needs to evolve out of its realm of desire and its idea of, the consciousness that may be coming from more of a demoniacal nature, the sensual nature, the 9 snares that the Bible describes as, that all the negative emotions. So we have that part of our consciousness. And then we have, of course, this divine nature. And so this story is all about this idea of understanding what is your dormant and latent desire that is so cellularly deep that you carry from one lifetime to the other, to this lifetime. And what is not getting satisfied? How is it causing your crises in your present life? And how to move towards your redemption. And the word redemption can trigger a lot of people because as Christian-minded people, what do we understand redemption as, right? Redemption is always connected to sin, right? And punishment, right? But in a way, that consciousness, which the psychologists, the Western psychology would call saboteur, that part of us that sabotages the success of our evolution, of our higher nature, the attainment of the self-realization. That is, in the East, it's called a demon, and in the West, it's called a part of our consciousness that gets stuck in our pain. And we're in this lifetime, we experience pain with our first caregivers, mom and dad. And whatever it is that we want from mom and dad, it's what we hunger for, and we journey into everything in our lives, from our lovers to our friends, to our colleagues or teachers, our environment, our food, our healers. even our relationship with guru, teachers, and God, even our relationship with God will have an aspect of something that we wanted from mom and dad that we didn't get. And ultimately, it's what we have come here as a soul to give to ourselves, and to learn to give to ourselves, and to learn that redemption is stop the punishment of yourself through the self-hatred. And the self-hatred is the death urge that the saboteur sort of uses as its agenda to get us off path. See, Saturn is the Lord of Karma. He's Mahakala, which means the Lord of Time, the great manifestation of the personality of time. So we're given a specific amount of time to have this consciousness evolve, to pay off our debt, right? That's why whenever we spend our visa, right, we always have a deadline, pay it or trouble. Saturn has that same thing. We have these deadlines, or these, I would like to cancel and correct this word deadline to this word, this is an opportunity to be debt free, or to at least feel comfortable in your payment plan, that it doesn't rob other resources and doesn't cause you stress, but that you know you've got to pay something back, and you are building a plan to be able to live in this existence, in this consciousness, with your debt and your pain, but your pain is manageable. Right? So this is where this 18-month window of this access, of this opportunity, this deadline that we get in this cosmos to sort of say, this is the crises that we want you to focus on, wherever that Rahu is, in whatever the 12 houses of the zodiac. And that's the crises. And hey, here's your antidote. It's always going to be in the opposite house to where this tail of the serpent is. So this Rahu Ketu is one being that gets severed. It's one consciousness, meaning it's the saboteur or the demon within us, it's whatever you want to call it, whatever makes you feel comfortable. I like to call it saboteur because the word demon scares people. And, you know, our demon can be like, a demon doesn't have to be a big, scary, you know, monster. It's actually the consciousness of us, the little girl or the little boy that got stuck, or the angry teenager that is on a revenge kill, right? Or the young adult that got hurt and brokenhearted and betrayed so deeply that they can't trust in love or in life. So the demon is us, a part of our consciousness that's in pain, that's traumatized, that's stuck in a past event. And that past event can be sort of like a double whammy, because it can be the same problem that we came here as a soul from a previous life to work on, right? So it's big. These are big topics. So whenever we say, oh, you're Rahu, you know, if you're in Aries, Rahu is going to play out blah, blah, blah. Or if you're a Taurus, Rahu is going to play out blah, blah, blah. That's not enough. It's not enough. And it's just going to go over people's heads. And it's not going to make a change until we understand. And as you know, with healing, if you understand your disease, if you understand the stages of the disease, if you understand the symptoms of the disease, if you see its progression, you have a healing plan put in place, and you monitor it. You walk with your illness or your disease as a teacher. You learn to cope and live with it. I think that it would be nice to learn to do that with our consciousness, you know, our emotional needs. And so let me try to explain a very detailed, layered, intensely complicated science as simple as I can. So we've been talking about this Rahu Ketu, and everyone who hasn't ever heard of this is going, I don't understand even what that means. So let's just go with a story, you know, as my mothers would say, You tell the innocent a story first so that they start to understand the metaphor. So the story of the churning of the ocean is the foundational story that I recommend. And it starts with a desire. And the desire, it comes from this thing that's in all human beings, including the gods, to live forever, to have perfect health, and to be in this optimum place of bliss and happiness. Okay, so off they go, these prissy gods and goddesses. They go off to the sustainer of this universe, which we call him Vishnu. And Mantraji used to say Vishnu's like a log. He's always asleep in his yoga nidra, you know, always meditating and creating galaxies and things like that from his belly button, where the Lord of creation stems from. So in his belly button, you'll see this beautiful lotus that sits the god of creation, Lord Brahma. And he says, Lord Vishnu is just sleeping and dreaming, and Lord Brahma is creating the galaxies in the universe. And so they go off and they wake Vishnu up of his yoga nidra, his yogic sleep, his deep meditation. And they say, we need this nectar of immortality, this pot, the elixir of life, which is what Ayurvedic medicine comes from. So Vishnu, you know, in his deep yawn and understanding of this complicated universe, says you need the help of your dark side, your shadow side, your demon. You can't navigate this quest without the integration of your full self, meaning you must befriend your demon, your enemy. You must give them a job and invite them in to work together, to churn your consciousness. You have to accept your dark side. You need to understand the saboteur that is the unconscious or conscious part of your psyche that's in pain, that's traumatized. That part of us that needs to be caught up to this present moment. So he sends them off to hire or to, you know, invite the demons to help to churn this ocean so that this beautiful nectar of immortality can come. So they go off and they know they have to trick the demons, because the demons don't want that. They want to, you know, have fun and enjoy their sensualness and be part of this material consciousness. They're not interested in anything other except sensual and pleasure and, you know, sense gratification. So they know they have to promise them drugs, alcohol, sex, you know, party in order to get their help, because they're not going to just do it because to build, you know, good marriage or be good people. They have to be seduced into it and promise that. So they do that, and the head of this clan of demons is this Rahu Ketu. And in the movie that I would recommend, he states his name, right? It's a very deep name, because Rahu is a child that's born out of this goddess that is connected to a lion clan. So that's why you'll see, you know, how to pacify Rahu in Hindu culture, Vedic culture. You'll see Mother Durga, who sits on a lion, is the only one that can pacify Rahu. So we'll talk about that. She's the one that kills all demons, right? She's the goddess that protects and really gets the disease out of us, the illness out of us, that saboteur. She slays the demon. And so that's why, and the Durga that's on a lion is to pacify Rahu, or on a tiger. So there's two forms of that mother goddess and two variations of her power. So I'm getting off course, but you know, it's so much details, right? So I can go on. I'm a storyteller. I can layer the stories, and we could stay here for hours. And that's what we used to do with Mantraji. He was a storyteller, and he'd start at, you know, like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with, you know, 2 hours of a lesson. And then, you know, I'd cook and feed him his dal and rice and his chapatis and yogurt, and then we'd eat, and then we put on a Hollywood movie for 30 minutes, and then he'd always pick a Bollywood Hollywood movie that would reflect an issue, a crisis that one of us was having in our chart because of Rahu. And we didn't know it at the time, but he would always select like this movie, and we'd all be, oh my God, this movie, what is this? And it would be a black and white Bollywood movie, right? In the 50s or 60s. And we'd have to watch this in Hindi with subtitles, and sometimes no subtitles. And so we would have to try to see, you know, what was the theme of this movie that was pertaining to one of our lives. And so once we'd watch that, then he would do another type of teaching on the karma. And then, you know, now it's almost midnight, and he would say, my dear, I need some sweet rice now. So I'd go in the kitchen and make some sweet rice, because I didn't want this night to end. We want storytelling, you know. So it was layered and layered and layered with cosmic, you know, blessings of that. So I was very lucky to have, I almost look at Mantriji, my teacher, as my 5 mothers infused in this Indian man, you know, that was teaching me even deeper forms of wisdom through the lens of the Hindu path or the Vedic path. So back to the story. So the demigods, you know, we had to get those demons to turn this ocean. And once they did, the first thing that comes up is this beautiful mother Lakshmi, which is the reservoir, right, of the root of sustenance. That's prana, the 5 forms of prana, the ojas, as Mona has behind her, that will sustain us. Is if we can, like a mother always takes care of the child's needs. So that's why taking care of the physical body in this particular incarnation is very important. So you need to know your Ayurveda. You need to understand it. And that's why Ayurveda is known as the mother of all healing systems, because it helps you to understand you, the creation, and how to balance those elements, that prakriti. So she's known as the Mula Prakriti, that brings the sustenance and the healing and the bliss of health and prosperity to our being, our body. And many things come out. And finally, Dhanvantari, the father of Ayurveda, comes up with this pot of an elixir, a soma, you know, of immortality. And Rahu Ketu steals it. He steals it because his desire, he wants to be the most powerful demon, the most incredibly well-known demon, right? He doesn't want liberation. He wants fame and fame. So anyway, long story short, he takes a sip, they chop off his head. So now this serpent has the severed head from his tail. So in the chart, Rahu represents our obsession and that part of us that gets fixated on something, that needs that. I need the nectar of immortality. I need to be famous. I need to be well-known. I need to be rich. I need to be happy. I want whatever we're fixated in. That is going to represent that hunger in us. And that Rahu is going to be in one of the 12 houses of the zodiac. The tail, because the head is covered, or cut, sorry, the tail of the serpent is where the antidote is, the medicine to the poison. The head has always got the poison and the tail has the medicine. So the tail is going to have the remedy, the antidote, the redemption to the crises, the intensity of our desire that will produce suffering. Every desire, all attachments produce suffering, right? You want a dog. Now you have a dog. Now you got to clean its ass, pick up its shit, feed it, walk it, babysit it, all that stuff. So now instead of walking with 2 legs, you've got another 4 legs that you got to take care of. And then of course you've got a dog, you want a partner. So now you've got another 2 legs with another set of karma and another set of this. And then of course you want your own babies or your own fish or, you know.
Right,
whatever. And now you've got all these legs that are walking with you and all the karmas. Right, and so it's not just you. You're layering other people's desires upon you. You're layering expectations of others upon you, duties that you have to now fulfill. So sometimes we don't get to even have time to sit in our own being to understand those samskaras, vasanas, those dormant desires that don't even get any time to be contemplated upon or purified or activated.
Agreed.
So we get resentment. We feel suffering. We feel misunderstood. We feel disrespected because we're looking for that redemption that we originally wanted from mom and dad that we didn't get, the kind of love or acceptance or the experience of belonging or being loved or taken care of, whatever it was that we needed from mom and dad, we're going to look for in that dog, in that cat, in that jellyfish, what's a jellyfish, a goldfish.
Jellyfish works too, right? Yeah, right.
Right? So all of that. And so at the end of the day, Rahu, wherever he is in those 12 houses, is going to give us a flavor. But it's not as simple as that. The 12 houses represent different parts of our lives, but then there is an astrology sign. So if, for example, an Aries, the first house is going to be Aries. That's the natural zodiac, and it follows. So if Rahu is in a person that's Aries, their Rahu in the sky right now is going to be in Taurus for all of us, but for that Aries person, it means it's the second house. So for 18 months, that Aries person is going to have an opportunity, a karmic debt that comes up that says you have to focus something that you wanted from the themes of that second house that you didn't get, that you're looking for, that you're upset about, that you need to heal, that you need to work on. And what's the second house? Our relationship with our family, money, sustenance, our mouth, that sometimes people that have that transit have to do major dental work. They may have problems with their throat or their voice. They may get inspired to sing. So all the themes of a particular house will be an opportunity of that desire to play through or play in. But that is just an 18-month window. That changes. So in the sky, every 18 months, Rahu Ketu will be in different signs. So if the crises, for example, for that Aries person is in that second house with the family, and there may be something connected to the money and the sustenance that the family is worried about, because what Rahu represents is that fear. I'm not going to get something. And so I'm going to obsess about something and I'm going to strategize. But what people forget is that Rahu is successful. He gets the nectar. He does everything and he takes it. He gets a zip. He's immortal. He reached his goal to become an immortal being, but there was a price to pay. He got his head severed. So this is the explanation of the eclipses. So when we talk about Rahu Ketu, we cannot separate the sun and the moon, because it was the moon's intuition who realized that this demon disguises himself as a demigod, and he sits while the nectar and mortality is being passed out to the demigods, and he takes a sip because they think he is a demigod, except those hands that you see in that beautiful movie that Kapil Raj created, that he forgets to cover his hands. So the moon's intuition sees that he's a demon, tells the sun, and the sun tells Vishnu, and Vishnu grabs his chakra, his powerful weapon that kills all demons, and he throws it and he chops his head off. But it was too late. He had a zip. He reached his goal. He got his desire satisfied, but there's a price to pay. So Rahu also symbolizes our successes. But in order to get our successes satisfied or reached, we may have to give something up, or we may have to, suffer a little, right? So you go get the dog of your dreams, but you have to suffer. You got to pick up its shit, right? You get the life partner. You get the life partner, and then they snore, or
putting up with their shit. Even you might be, and you're gonna pick up their shit too at some point in time. I mean, come on.
I'm just giving like basic life, experience.
Yeah.
That makes it makes so much sense though, right? Because if you have this really strong desire for something, so to me that means that's a yes. So I want to say yes to this. But if I'm walking through this door, then I'm probably not at the same time walking through that door. So I've often thought of, for each really big yes, that means there needs to be a no somewhere, right? So something, not necessarily that the door closes, but if I'm really obsessed with this, and it reminds me of when I was writing the books, right? I really wanted to do that. I had very strong passion and desire to bring that wisdom and information in that way into the world. But that meant, like, all the writing that needed to happen and the editing and the reviews meant not a lot of lunch dates with friends, not a lot of free time, not, lost some, said no to sleep so I could say yes to writing and editing. So, right, for every yes, that means there's a no somewhere else, because it's not that I can't have lunch with my friends, but I can't have lunch with my friends and write at the same time. So we end up, it's funny because Rahu Ketu is symbolized as this, like, these pairs of opposites, so to speak. And so it's the same thing where it's not that I can't have lunch with my friends, but I can't do that and focus really strongly here at the same time. So for each yes, there's a no somewhere. Yeah.
Exactly. And I know you made some notes, Josh, about, the movie, like the Rahu part and the Ketu part, and that you got more insights on the Ketu part. So what have you learned about Ketu from your little research?
Oh my
what came up
goodness.
for you?
What did come up? So I have the headless shadow of the night, and that in some instances we end up ignoring deeper layers. That Ketu helps us clear the deep wounds that Rahu potentially brought up for us. That, I guess as we're talking about the psychology of this, it's like there's an awareness that comes up that something needs to be done, that we need to, like you had said, clear the karma that we've accumulated in this life up to this point in time and in the past. And that as the medicine comes in, that medicine is going to require a lot from us in order to clear that. And if we really are serious about clearing it, if that is our big yes, like Mona just said, if healing is our big yes, then what does that require? And that in some instances, what I liked about it was, here's the settling, here's the time that you're going to need to do that. I did like that he also said that Ketu had a lot more about stop thinking about it so much, and potentially, because when you're thinking about it, you're not actually doing the work. So glorifying the mind and the intellect in that isn't necessarily going to help you in this medicine perspective, in this medicine application. What else did I find very
That's huge
entertaining?
right there, that's
I know,
huge
right?
right there, right? Because if you think of, Rahu is the co-ruler of Aquarius. And Aquarius, right, yes, it's ruled by Saturn, but a co-ruler of Aquarius is Rahu. And Aquarian is known as an air sign, even though it carries water, right?
Yep.
It's still an air sign, and air, as we know, is connected to Vata, which predominant emotion of Vata is fear, worry, restlessness, nervousness, and overthinking, right? And that nervousness, that restlessness, that fear is going to increase, in that area that Rahu sits, because Rahu is going to, it's Vayu, real strong wind, air. And so it's going to bring up that Vata, just like Saturn is a Vata planet. It's going to increase that Vata. So the fear of not receiving or not getting or not being able to have the experiences that we want are going to be accentuated in wherever Rahu is. So so you're right, Ketu offers like this other opportunity to do the work, to do the healing, but we don't need the thinking, right?
Agreed.
It's like if we can put the thinking on the side, then we are able to actually intune the truth And that's why Ketu represents, he's known as Moksha Karaka, which means the significator of liberation of suffering.
Mm.
And he is like a renunciant. When we detach from those thoughts, when we detach from those core beliefs that are imprisoning us, that are creating our bondage, our
Suffering.
blindsidedness, we have to give something up. And the word forgiveness means you got to give something up. To forgive means to give up something. So forgiveness is not something, it's not a gift that you give your betrayer or your abuser.
Right?
Right? It's a liberation for yourself away from the
Yes,
suffering.
indeed.
So
And would it be that it strikes me that this is about clearing karma? Karma, if we translate the word karma, we're talking about action.
Mhm.
So this, I like you were saying, Josh, it's not about thinking about it. It's about there's a doing. So like almost a repatterning or a new approach or a letting go of one thing so that we can move into a different way of being or behaving. And so it strikes me that karma is always about action. And sometimes people replace action with or try to
Thinking.
think they are
Mhm.
replacing action with thought. Not that thoughts don't have karma, but I think it's about a doingness of something.
Mhm.
yeah.
It just struck me.
Yes, and like we always say, oh, a karmic chart, a karmic reading, a karmic. What does it mean? It means that it's a map of all the actions that we have taken and
Mm.
all the reactions that we're suffering. That's what really it is. But the Vedic understanding of karma is very deep, and so there is a full many layers to karma. So we have I'm not going to get into it today, but we can do a class on karma one day where it's like, okay, there's karmas that are called the mass collective karmas of every lifetime we've ever had.
Mm.
Okay, and then there is a merciful God, thank God, because even Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he basically tells Arjuna on the battlefield when he's freaking out and he's lost himself and he's bewildered by his fears. He says, look, because Arjuna's problem is that he thinks he's going to create bad karma by killing,
Mm.
being a warrior into killing. And he wants to go off to the mountains and meditate. And Krishna's saying, you're going to create more karma by not doing your duty, dude. So just pick
Right?
up the weapons and fight. And Arjuna's all freaked out about that. But so Krishna explains to him that the collective karmas, every actions of your past has a story of suffering. And so if you open up Pandora's box of all your lifetimes, all you're going to bring up is past traumas and unresolved pain. But God is so merciful that he erases the memories of our previous lives.
Mm.
And so we don't have to re-experience that suffering. But there is going to be a core tragic flaw, a thread that ties all that suffering to this present moment. So the chart is a snapshot of that theme that we carry in the cellular memory. That's what we call the vasana, or the ohde, as the Persians call it. I love that word, ohde. What's your ohde? What's your,
So pretty.
what's your, your shit, basically? What's your
Mhm.
problem? What's the matter with your matter, right?
Mhm.
And if you know what that is, right? Like you can own it. Like you can own it and say, yeah, I've never received respect from my mom and dad. Therefore, I want
Mhm.
everybody to respect me. And I'm going to look for that. And I'm going to do my Rahu thing to get that respect. And the way I want respect is with name and fame or, success or a good relationship or kind children. Who knows? Right? Many puppies
Mm.
from that dog I bought. Like, oh, I like puppies.
A
Who
lot of
knows?
dog shit to clean up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Rahu Ketu is a value system that becomes
Mm.
active. And these are transits that accumulate this opportunity for us to give and receive and to pay back that debt and to really get clear, because they're shadow planets. Isn't it interesting that they're actually not planets, they're shadows? And the right now, today, a good example, the moon, which represents our emotional mind, is being eaten by this head, Rahu, swallowing the moon. But Rahu doesn't have a body. And so the moon passes by, and so it creates a shadow over our emotional needs, our mind, our darkness, our shadow becomes, covered. And then the moon passes, but Rahu is still hungry. And so it searches the galaxy because its next thing he's going to eat is the sun, which is the solar eclipse. So then he finds the sun, it's solar eclipse time. And what does the sun represent? Our soul. And so he swallows, and that's called the shadow of the soul time. So that's when our soul has to work through its demoniacal, covering. So these points and times in a year, all the solar eclipses and the lunar eclipses are measurement points that help us measure our value system and the accumulation of what we've given and what we've taken, and an opportunity to pay off our karmic debt. And then that's the big story, but then there is the detailed information. So right now in the sky for everybody, Rahu is in Taurus. When Rahu is in Taurus, he's exalted, and Ketu is in Scorpio. So wherever Rahu is, Ketu is going to be in the opposite sign. So the opposite sign of Taurus is Scorpio, and Ketu is exalted in Scorpio. Scorpio is known as the planet of transformation. It's the planet of the occult. It's the natural 8th house of the zodiac. So it brings up the subconscious stuff. It brings up our deep quest for the mystic, the mysterious, the magic. That's what Scorpio is. And it contains both the poison and the medicine. So it's a time, an opportunity for big transformation, to let go of that demoniacal nature and to embrace our divine self. And Taurus, what do you guys remember Taurus represents?
Oh, good Lord. Mona, go on this one.
Go.
Like, I will be here for days talking about Taurus.
Exactly.
Taurus and I are not great friends.
No.
Let's just put that out there right now. Taurus and I are like,
No, I want to hear what you have to say, because I have no beef with Taurus. I have no beef with Taurus at all.
I always think of Taurus as being like, no, Josh, no, I'm not going to do that because you told me to do that. No, I'm going to do exactly the opposite of what you told me to do. I'm going to dig my heels in, and I'm going to be really slow and plodding. Whereas me as the Aquarian, it's like, you got shit to do. Let's go. I'm tired of waiting for you, just sitting there. Come on. I've already explained it enough to you. You don't need any more motivation as to do it. Just fucking go. And Taurus is like, no. Why not? I don't know. I'm just not going to do it because you told me to do it. And you can just go fuck yourself. I'm not going to go do it, Josh.
That's so fascinating. That's not my experience.
Exactly. But exactly, right? It's perceptions. Because what Josh is telling me is the love story between air and earth.
Right, it's so true. Because air is like, I'm going to spin you up, and earth is like, actually, I'm going to settle you down. Exactly. I'm going to get you quite heavy and grounded, and I'm going to take my time to think about it. And air is like, no, I'm not going to take my time. I've already made up my decision, and that one's wrong, but I'm going to come back and make it again and again and again and again and again and again and again.
Because what's the principle behind air? Air is responsible for movement. To move. And what's the principle behind earth? A pillar.
Not move.
To hold space. So both are needed. Aquarius, your brilliant movement of consciousness is needed. Taurus, your stable, holding of the traditional space is needed.
Drives Aquarian crazy.
It does, and it drives Taurus insane when there is pressure.
Too much movement.
To change. Because what we know, I mean, you have a little kapha, I've got a lot of kapha. We resist change. We don't change.
So true.
Right? So to move a mountain takes a tremendous amount of wind. To move the water, it takes a tremendous amount of wind to cause a tsunami. So to move a consciousness that's fixed, right? To move that, I mean, it's not worth the effort. So always remember, what would what would a, a wise, Ayurveda, Vaidya, doctor of Ayurveda, you know, sort of counsel a person that's trying to change the nature of another element, or trying to see which one's right, which one's not? No, the answer is equilibrium, right? The answer is acceptance. Acceptance of the power of the earth, acceptance of the power of the air, and then position it properly in terms of how you're going to have effect. So certain herbs are going to have more air, more fire, more water, more earth, more akash ether, and it has to be prescribed properly to create change in that physical body, so that what's the matter with your matter gets diagnosed properly and assessed properly, right? Because what the air in you may need or may want, you'll look for that. You know, the resentment or the issue will come from something that you wanted, a movement or some action in one of your parents. Why did you not change? Why did you get stuck? Why are you, reacting? So whatever it was that air or that Aquarian energy wants from the Taurus person is something that you originally wanted from mom and dad that you couldn't get, and you're looking for in that person. So think of Rahu Ketu as an opportunity to re-examine that value system that we operate of, and sometimes it hurts us. Sometimes those perceptions, sometimes the agenda of the saboteur within our consciousness. Remember, if a saboteur inside of us, that little demon, is active, the only agenda of that saboteur is to sabotage our moksha, our liberation, our suffering. It wants us to stay in the pain because it believes the lie that we are not enough, we're unworthy, we're bad, or we're just unlovable, or we're too much, right? I'm not enough, or I'm too much. So, because I know our time is limited, let me just get through this meaning of what's happening. So in the sky with this Rahu in Taurus and Ketu in Scorpio, Rahu in Taurus is going to be in the star, the nakshatra of Mirgashirsha, which means it's the planet of Soma. What's Soma? That nectar of immortality. What's been happening with this world since October? We've been on a quest for the elixir to heal this COVID-19 crisis, this pandemic. And the antidote has been found. So when Rahu moved into Taurus in October, it was found. So the antidote is now found, but the world is still hunting and craving for the medicine, the ojas, the healing. So this next 18-month cycle, 17 months now, is going to be about finding the nectar or the elixir of immortality, just like that churning of the ocean story. And right now, it's presented to us globally as a pandemic, that the world is in crises and our economy is in crisis, our health is threatened, our life is being threatened by this, right? And that's the same position that the gods were in when they went to Vishnu to give them this nectar of immortality. They were saying, look, there's havoc on this earth, there's disease everywhere. Everyone is not in alignment with their soul purpose. We need medicine, we need healing, we need a solution. So that's why Vishnu, Krishna, asks the demigods to contact the demons, because we got to work together. So the enemy, the pain, the disease, the pandemic, the torn consciousness, we've got to come together to start churning, because we are in a new yuga. And that's what that Kapil really captures when Rahu says, this is the end of Kali Yuga, which is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Kali Yuga represents a time of quarrel and hypocrisy. It's a time of irreligiosity. And now Dwapara Yoga, another era, is being awakened, but where? Inside of us. So when we let go of those issues that he worked through in the movie, that, we're talking about this movie on Rahu Ketu, that's fantastic, and just capturing a little bit of that essence. He worked through a very big issue that was blocking his success, that resentment and that hatred towards his father in the movie was blocking his health.
Liberation.
He was having mental illnesses. He was believing he was schizophrenic. He was having delusions, and his marriage and all of his prosperity, everything was on pause because he had to resolve this ohde, this vasana, this desire that he had as a child towards his father. And he had to work it through, and he was in denial. Remember, he didn't talk about his father, didn't want to see his father. He rejected all of that about his father, right? Because he wasn't ready. So Rahu Ketu offers us an opportunity every 18 months to chip a little bit. It didn't just happen to him. It's been happening to him throughout his whole journey of self-realization. So this right now is a moment in time for humanity to really find their elixir of healing. And by doing that work, by churning the consciousness, by churning your ocean, by bringing together the dark and the light, by understanding that there isn't any wrong or right, no evil and good, right? That this absolute reality has to come together. And what is the absolute reality? Who are you? What are you here to do? So this Taurus in Mirgashirsha, this nakshatra, there's going to be this search in all of us for something that's going to be life enhancing. And so it depends on what our obsessions are. If it's like a search for the partner to give us, you know, that grounded home base, or the search for the job that's going to pay and get us out of debt, or, you know, whatever it is that Rahu being in one of those 12 houses of the zodiac, it could be an obsession with having a child, an obsession with getting a position, whatever it is, it's an opportunity for us to move through. And when it comes into Taurus, which we know is a very grounded earth stabilizing sign, right? There's going to you're going to feel a bit of a security, and Rahu gets something. We get success during this time. So I wanted to invite everybody to take a little journey, a meditation, to think about what is it? What is your quest for the silver chalice, for the nectar of immortality? What is it that you're hunting for? What's the desire that's present in you right now in your life? Okay, so let's all just close our eyes and just think of one thing. And if it's a list of 10,000, prioritize. You can have it all. That's Rahu. Rahu wants it all. He's insatiable, right? And there's no right or wrong. You're hungry and you want a buffet, right? You want a buffet. And so I want you to visualize your buffet. But I want you to walk up to that buffet and I want you to think of what is this beautiful, smoky, beautiful scent of the aromatic dish that's attracting you the most. Because right now, when Taurus is attraction because it's Venus. Venus is sexual, sensual. It's going to really seduce you. So Rahu has come to seduce you into finding this pleasure, into the search for the pleasure, and your intoxication with this pleasure will increase during this next 18 months. So be aware of what that is. What is it that you're going to what is going to become your obsession, right? What is going to become your focus obsession for this next little transit? And in this search, be aware that as you go deeper into satisfying this sensual energy, your addictions are going to be heightened. So this is a time that you need to increase support and increase your recovery and make sure that you are really working whether it's your 12-step program or your work to help you not overindulge in things that hurt you, that cause poison in you, like gambling, drinking, drugs, or, over sensualizing yourself, like, sex addictions, or all those things that can cause you harm. And when you have this, you will start to realize that you're attracted to certain things and certain people, and certain things and people will be attracted to you. And so for those of you that are artistic and that are performance artists, you'll start to see that it's a time for you to focus on that creative project. Visualize it, hunt it. This is a good time for that project to come into manifestation. And also look at something that is obsessing you and possessing you. And your obsessions and your possessions will increase. And so this transit is going to really, this next 18 months is going to reveal something that you are attracted to, and someone or something that's attracted to you. And you've got to play out that karma. But please play out that karma with deep awareness. I want you to take a deep breath in and connect to that deep, deep, deep desire. Ketu represents the past life. So for all of us in the sky right now, Ketu is in Scorpio. It's the deep subconscious, sort of found search for an answer that stems from a past life. And it's going to show up in a relationship to something that is brought up, that Rahu attracts as an opportunity to be in front of us, to face and journey with. So it could be a person, a past life relationship that needs to be healed or worked through. It could be a past moment in time, like a regret or a lost opportunity that comes back for you to rework it or give it another opportunity. It can also play out between a new friendship, a new job, a new connection, a new project. Something is coming. Rahu is attracting something. And be aware of what that is now. Forewarned is forearmed. And it's got, the key is to discover what you're desiring. Whatever is your hidden, deepest desire within this next 18-month transit, 17 months now, we're a month into it. Rahu is going to attract that for you to play out that theme, that karma. So I want you to think of the sun, which is your soul. Deep inside of your soul, there is a deep, dormant desire for you to experience something. You came here as a soul to experience something. Be aware of what you believe is your life purpose. And if you're not sure, you don't know, this is the time to start that endeavor. This is the time to search for your true self and to start on that path to discovering your dharma, your duty, the responsibility that you as a soul consented to experiencing in this body, in this form, in this name, in this gender, in this personality that is called you. And now I want you to be aware that your dharma, your soul, is going to awaken, because right now the sun is in Scorpio for everybody. And that means a deep transformation for your soul is upon us, upon you. Take this month to discover what is that duty, that dharma. Take a deep breath in and try to connect to the deepest chamber of your soul where your beloved lives, that deep part and parcel of God, that deep spark of the soul, the super soul, lives in your own being, in your own heart. Beginning the journey inward is the medicine, the quest for the nectar of immortality. It's inside of you. You are everything that you're searching for. And now, be aware of your mind. Your mind doesn't believe that because of past traumas, past hurts. Your mind, which is your emotional mind, okay, which is the mother of the energy. So father is the sun and mother is the moon. And Hatha Yoga is all about balancing what? Ida and Pingala, the sun, the moon. You must balance that in your life, in your consciousness. So become aware of what is the predominant thought that may lead you off path, that may lead you away from the truth of who you are. And so part of that mind holds the medicine, the elixir. In your mind, in the deepest chamber of your mind, holds the poison and the medicine. Become aware of the agenda of your internal saboteur, that part of your consciousness that's stuck in the pain of a past, whether it's the pain in the past relationship, whether it's the desire that was never fulfilled, something that you wanted from both your caregivers, your mother and your father. You're hungry for that. You're searching for that. You're obsessed with that. Rahu is going to bring that to you. Bring that karma. Become aware of that. And let it play out in front of you. Ketu represents paying off that karma from those past lives. And the main theme of this Rahu Ketu transit is transformation. So give yourself an opportunity to shift out of self-sabotaging actions, behaviors, and beliefs, and move closer to your dharma, your soul purpose. And now I want you to bring into the reign, or this is Mercury, your consciousness of intellect, the way that you're digesting and metabolizing your thoughts, your intellect. Your intellect must learn to sharpen the saw of what's real and what's unreal. So become aware of what is the illusion. Remember, Rahu, Ketu are shadow planets. Rahu wants to trick you. He wants to bring an illusion of something that's not real. So you go off on the wrong path in that search. But Mercury, the intellect, and Rahu like to hang out together because they're both extremely intelligent, but they're also extremely tricky. So be aware of the tricks your saboteur uses to make you stay in the lie. What's the lie again? The beliefs that you're not enough or you're too much, the beliefs that you are unworthy of love, or that you will not attract love because you're unlovable, or simply because you're bad, or simply because you're so different and you're not the same as everybody around you, and you're alone and you're isolated. These are the lies that your saboteur wants you to invest in. Mercury, the intellect, knows this. Gather that knowledge and see that truth. Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityo ma amritam gamaya. Lead me from the unreal to the real. Lead me out of this darkness into the light. Lead me out of disease into immortality. Move the consciousness, become aware. And now you need your willpower, you need your ego, Mars, to come in. And so be aware of how your ego, how your willpower is going to help your soul, your sun, your purpose. So give a job, because Mars is the corporal, right-hand general of the king's army. Your soul needs you, the ego, the ahamkara, to execute the plan. So join and give a job to that ego to conquer, to metabolize, to protect the soft, innocent child that was hurt. Stand by and defend that teenager that is looking for justice and it's upset. Become the companion and the buddy to the adult you that was hurt, and navigate through the darkness with the torch and the power and the courage to change, the courage to heal, the courage to go on, the courage to forgive. Let go. Take a deep breath and let go. And now you need the Jupiter, the wisdom to join you. The wisdom comes from your experience, by knowing yourself, the wisdom of your consciousness to see and to understand the Dharma, the goal. This is you, the spirit, the natural wisdom that has all the answers. Bring that wisdom, ignite that wisdom into your consciousness. There's no more darkness now that Jupiter has entered. That your wisdom, your spiritual awakened self is in charge. And now you need Venus. You need a healthy desire. You need the art of living. And so invite that energy of Venus and reconnect to that artistic you, that natural quality, the natural gift that's in your body, in your mind, and just connect with that. This is you. This is your unique expression. And now you need the help of Saturn, which is the consistent part of you, the disciplined part of you, the one that is responsible and that will respond to the purpose of your soul. And now Rahu is going to help you. And now Ketu is going to help you. So come out of your meditation, and now that you can rethink, reevaluate, and connect back to some base roots that can help create this shift, right? And every 18 years, we get an opportunity. And every 18 months, we get an opportunity to express that. So I'd like to just remind you that Rahu represents the part of us, that the boundaries that need to be broken in our consciousness so that we can actually see what Ketu is trying to give us as a redemption. Because Rahu is going to be blinded by the desire and the obsession. And this is an important thing because the essence of karma, Rahu defines new karma. And where he is, he makes you insecure. And he makes you feel like you can't ever get something. And that's why the obsession increases, because there's a fear of loss. There's a fear of not getting your desires fulfilled. And Ketu defines the spiritual progress. He defines what Rahu wants in the material world. Ketu is trying to offer that to us in the spiritual world. So Rahu gets obsessed with the material existence, but Ketu detaches from that, knowing that that's not going to bring us the remedies. And he offers us connection to our spiritual. So think of Ketu as the karmic sword of Dharma, okay? And he is that occult planet that starts to move us towards the mystery of us. And all those aha moments, those insights, those revelations can be experienced through wherever Ketu is.
You guys, thank you so much for listening. It really was great to have you. And please feel free to send us any questions or comments that you had on this particular topic, or really any topic that comes to mind.
If you want to connect with us, you can connect with us at our website. So you can find Josh at jlmtherapeutics.com. He's got to contact us. And so contact Josh. If you want to contact me, I'm at janatiyoga.com. And if you email anything on that website, it all comes to my inbox. So that's how you can get a hold of the two of us. And on each of our websites, you'll find I almost did it, ampersand, CIYT. No, it's a hashtag, Mona. It's a hashtag. You will find more information about Confessions of Inappropriate Yoga Teachers on both of our websites at hashtag CIYT.
Awesome. So if you'd like to support us, we've got a couple of ways to do that. You can either go to Patreon and be a paying supporter for us, which is awesome. And you can also give us feedback at any time. You can head on to social media and talk about us and just help us build the community. And that is worth its weight in gold as well. So we love to be able to bring this to you. And those are the ways that we can. So again, thanks for listening to Confessions of Inappropriate Yoga Teachers, hashtag CIYT. And until next time, everybody.
Be inappropriate.
Yes,
Very
indeed.
inappropriate.
Very inappropriate.
Very inappropriate.